Hey, so we're back, continuing on with our 2015-2016 NBA Team Preview podcast, and now we're rolling on with the ever so great Utah Jazz.
Right. So last year finished at kind of subpar 38 and 44, but they really kind of found their groove and caught fire towards the end of that season. Right after the All-Star break, they jumped up to probably the top mark in defensive efficiency. I know they won at least 19 of their last 24.
They went 19-10 in their last 29 games.
Exactly, and they were phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look at their offseason. Charles, you want to give us who they added?
Yeah, so key additions, they drafted Trey Lyles with a lottery pick. They signed Raul Neto, who was a second-round pick a couple of years ago. People are expecting big things from him. They signed Tibor Pleiss, who was also a second-round pick that was acquired in the Cantor deal. And they signed Jeff Withey to fill that white guy big man quota.
Of course.
Of course. As for their key losses, they lost Jeremy Evans. He didn't play much, but he's off to Dallas now. And they lost Jack Cooley, who I didn't even know was on the team.
I don't know who he is.
And another big loss for them was Dante Exum. He's probably missing the whole season because he tore his ACL in Summer League.
Get well soon, Dante.
Yeah.
So, knowing that Dante's out for the season, let's take a look at this team's starting lineup. You have Trey Burke starting at the point guard spot. Rodney Hood probably getting the nod at the starting shooting guard spot. Gordon Hayward starting small forward. Derek Favors at the power forward. And Rudy Gobert coming out.
Stifle Tower.
Yeah. Now, I know there's a lot of talk about Alec Burks. He obviously came on very strong at the start of last season. Then got injured. I think Hood kind of fills their need better. And they didn't address the need for a two-guard, apparently because Rodney Hood was adamant about them to not draft a two-guard. They really believe in Rodney Hood, so I think he should be getting the minutes from the get-go. He proved to be a really good defensive player last year, and I think he could just improve his offensive game.
Yeah, I see that for him too.
So what do you have as a stat for this team that could really define them this season?
I mean, you mentioned at the beginning of the thing that they led the league in defensive efficiency towards the end of the season. That was exactly my stat. You might have the same stat too. So after the Enes Kanter trade, they led the league in defensive efficiency. And that's probably because of Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert, he became one of the best defensive players in the league. I think it was his second year and he was already showing really great development. People thought he would take 3 or 4 years to really become an efficient player, but you really can't teach length. He seems to know the game really well. He's a shot blocker, he's a rim protector, and he moves pretty fluidly for a guy so tall. So people are really hoping for that defensive efficiency to remain the same. I'm not sure if they can sustain it, but they're definitely going to be improved. And that really shows how much of a negative Kanter was on defense. So hopefully, whether it's Favors and Gobert, Lyles and Gobert, even having Tibor Pleiss too, I feel like they have a really good defensive front court with a lot of big men. So it'll be interesting to see if the defense is as good as it is. And the only thing I'm worried about is that backcourt defense with Trey Burke probably getting a lion's share of the minutes this season for the Jazz.
Yeah, to add to your point, even with that awful portion where Kanter was their starting center and their defense was suffering, they finished the season number 1 in opponent points per game. All of their defensive metrics were incredible. They limited opponent assists, they limited opponent total rebounds, opponent assists, field goals made. They were good in assists to turnovers for opponents. Like anything defensive related, they were pretty good at. The worst thing I think was their score margin. That kind of sat just below league average. They were number 16 with that. But honestly, their defense doesn't need to do a thing differently. I think Dante Exum played a big part in that, though, so I am worried about taking a step back when you put Trey Burke in instead. But I think they can hold. Don't think that Burke necessarily will submarine them when you have 4 of the 5 players of that elite defense still there.
Right.
However, I wanted to focus more on offense. Just the stat itself is like offense. Like they finished almost last in their own points scored per game. Worse yet, they were 29th in assists per game. And that has a lot to do with the fact that Trey Burke is their starting point guard. They do not have a distributor. Gordon Hayward tries. He's a very good passer at the 3 spot, but he's not, I don't think he's a lead distributor. I don't know. They need someone to take that step and be a secondary distributor with Hayward, though. And they don't have that, really. They're hoping Dante Exum could be that, and maybe he could have been, but he's out right now. He's gone for this year.
Yeah, people are really hoping on Raul Neto, too. He's a rookie point guard out of Brazil. And, Utah Jazz players have been saying he's probably one of the most important pieces, and he might be even better than Trey Burke.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's going to get a starter nod.
He'll be coming off the bench, but if he's outplays Burke, which might be a possibility considering
how Burke plays,
isn't a great player.
Yeah,
it's definitely possible.
I could see that, and they need someone like him to be a distributor. They need somebody to move this ball because they're not cutting it. They're 28th in assists to turnovers. They're 23 in assists to field goals made. Like I said, 29th in assists per game. All of that's affecting, I think, their field goals attempted, too. They're kind of running the shot clock down with posts, isolations, and they were really bad with that. I think they ranked 29th in field goals attempted per game. So they need someone to distribute the ball, kind of kick up the pace on their offense. And just another fun stat for them, I need to see more improved shooting. Not from 3-point, not from 2-point, from the free throw line. They were really bad from the free throw line last year. 72% overall. And that's
Gobert isn't a great free throw shooter. He'll
take him down. There's going to be a hack of Gobert. But
Rudy.
I feel like Favors should be able to hit that shot. He's kind of got that mid-range shot. I don't know. I think he should improve from there. Hayward, continue improving. He's a good free throw shooter, but I think he could still stand to improve. Everyone could. Burke is just not efficient from anywhere.
Yeah.
Rodney Hood can increase, a little bit. Alec Burks could increase. They all could do to increase their free throw shooting because it's not just Gobert submarining this number.
Yeah.
So moving on, what do you see as a big picture for this team?
I think there's a lot of hope and optimism around this team. And Quinn Snyder, the coach of this team, he in a press conference this week, he was pretty brutally honest. He was like, don't be too hopeful and too optimistic about this team. We're still developing, and we're definitely not going to be a playoff team for the next couple of years. And it was pretty eye-opening because the guy is really honest about his own team. Because usually you see coaches, they're like, oh, we can definitely go into the playoffs.
The sky's the limit for my team, yeah.
Yeah, you can see probably Brett Brown saying, we try to go to the playoffs, but Quinn Snyder's been honest about this team, and that's almost like kind of a breath of fresh air. I mean, he's a really good coach. I think their defensive efficiency isn't just because of Rudy Gobert and how long he is and how intelligently he plays the game. Snyder really put his personnel in the best position to succeed on defense. So he let them switch, he let them adapt to whatever lineup was on the floor to maximize their strengths on defense. And that's definitely commendable. And I think for this team, defense is probably going to be the key thing to develop this season. They really don't have any super young guys. They drafted Trey Lyles, and I'm hoping he becomes a solid role player. But other than that, they have a bunch of young veterans. They have a bunch of guys under 25 that have been in the league for 2 or 3 years. So hoping for those guys to continue developing and hoping that front court rotation plays really well too. Favors and Gobert is going to be a pretty interesting combination. Favors has really improved on his mid-range shooting, and Gobert should become a better offensive player, even if it's just on lobs and pick and rolls. And even though Trey Burke is starting, I'm hoping that we might see more of Raul Neto. Maybe there's a trade for another point guard. Does anything to avoid Alec Burke, because he hasn't really shown that he's been an average starter, at least in this league. I'm hoping that something is shaken up. And other than that, I feel like Gordon Hayward is the leader of this team, and he was definitely a good player last year, and perhaps he might average even 25-5 in the season. That's how much hope I have in him. He was close last year with 19-4-4, and he'll be getting a lot of looks, especially with Exum out and with his team probably playing a little bit faster this season as well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Honestly, the big picture for this team, their defense is going to carry them. Whether or not Quinn Snyder wants to say they're a playoff team, I think that he's just kind of taking the opposite mentality that most coaches get. A lot of coaches use the "it's us against them" mentality, like the world doubts us. Quinn Snyder's like, no, you know what? Play free. Play a little more open. Don't expect to be in the playoffs. Just play. Play the game that I'm teaching you. He teaches his players to be incredibly smart, honestly. And you could see with that second half turnaround that, well, also, I don't even know if you could call it a turnaround. I don't think it had anything to do with Snyder not being a good coach. I think a lot of it had to do with Enes Kanter, but we'll say it was him just finally getting it, whatever. This team became phenomenal. He taught them how to play good defense, and, you know, obviously the rise of Gobert did play a large part, you know, amazing block numbers, rebound numbers, but he got everyone to be in a correct position. They play together. If you watch them on defense, they actually make defense look kind of fun. You know, it's not like a Memphis style, where Memphis style is just kind of like bang it out, like hit as hard as you can without getting the foul call, like just the grit and grind. Utah's like a help defense. It's weird to describe.
They communicate really well.
Yeah, they're a very fluid defensive unit. Seeing that continue, obviously they struggled defending the 3-point line, and I think that has to do just with their guard depth. I'm not overwhelmed by their guard depth. Trey Burke and Alec Burks are question defenders. You know, Rodney Hood.
Burke's law firm.
What?
The Burke and Burke's law firm isn't really too great at defense.
Not great. Rodney Hood, he's a good defender. He was young though, so I think another year to develop. You know, that would be great for him. Dante Exum was kind of shining in that defensive role. So when he comes,
great in summer league too.
Yeah, when he comes back, I would look forward to seeing him kind of frontline this defense. But I think that kind of like torpedoed their 3-point percentage defense, but they can get that back up. Otherwise, I agree about the Hayward comment. He could kind of shine a little bit more. Obviously, he's putting up great numbers. I'm not questioning that, but I think he could even take another step now that there's so much more opportunity with Exum out. I think the question, Quinn Snyder just has to get into Trey Burke's head and say, listen, you have to give the ball to Gordon, because Trey Burke is very ball happy. He's very ball dominant. He likes to just kind of like run around and shoot his 3 that he can't shoot. And I don't want to see that. I want Trey Burke to play within the system. I want him to give the ball to Hayward, who should be frontlining this offense. But yeah, Derek Favors continues to be one of the most underrated players in my mind. Continued rise of Gobert.
I don't really think he's ever going to be an all-star, but like you're saying, he's going to be a good starter.
No, yeah, I see. Know who he reminds me of? David West, and he's not on a bad team like David West was to put up those great numbers and become an all-star. He has been, but like he kind of just. He hit his stride at the wrong time. Like when the team was getting good, he started becoming like better, and so then now there's more options around him to score. So he's kind of like just evened out at like the 14 to 16 points per game mark. But he was putting up a quiet, great year last year.
Yeah.
And Trey Lyles can only make things better, getting that 3-man unit going between Gobert, Lyles, and Favors. The other thing I worry about is Utah doing what it did last time, getting Paul Millsap, Al Jefferson, then getting Derek Favors and Enes Kanter and Rudy Gobert, and then trying to play them all.
Mm-hmm.
I worry if they... That was the first thing I thought when I saw they drafted Lyles. And I was just like, oh God, please no. But I don't think that they're a bad organization. I don't think they're going to make that mistake. It was just a little power.
I think that was just a depth move. I don't think Lyles will ever be a starter in this league. I think he'll just be a solid 6th, 7th man on the team. I think he's pretty much what they were going for when they drafted him.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever going to replace Gobert or Favors.
Yeah. Unless one of them leaves. But we'll see what happens with that. But what Quinn Snyder said, I think Quinn Snyder is a very smart strategist. I think they're going to challenge for 7 or 8 on that playoff push. Obviously, we had Pelicans slot at like kind of the 7th spot, and Utah might come in at 8. But like, I think the injuries to the Pelicans starting up, the Utah Jazz have a very good chance of kind of pushing farther into that postseason, like kind of in the positioning.
Yeah.
So, what do you have for an excitement factor for this team?
I have them at 6.5. I like this team. Gobert, like I was mentioning before, he's pretty intriguing to watch. Like, he's just so ridiculously long, but he's very fluid with the way he plays the game. defensively, he moves his feet really well. Like, having Trey Burke, if he decides to pass the ball and lob it to Gobert, like, whenever Gobert caught an alley-oop, it was really eye-opening because it was ridiculous to see how long he was.
Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of that Quinn Snyder defense, like you were saying. Like, they really tried on defense, and it didn't look painful. Like, they really communicated well, they switched well, and they did what it took when the personnel was on the court. They adjusted, they adapted, and I really appreciated that. And I really like Gordon Hayward, too. We'll go into reasons why he's a pretty cool dude in the social media section. But I think he's almost an underrated type of player.
If he were anywhere else, roster.
He'd be almost an all-star, I guess.
Yeah. If he was in a main city, he'd definitely be an all-star. But I have them at an 8.0. Honestly, if you can get me to like watching defense, that's a good move. Like, so kudos to you, Quinn Snyder, and the Jazz roster. But yeah, I love their defense. I actually do love watching them play defense. But more so than that, this blends into my Milwaukee ranking, sort of. They're such a young team, and they're already challenging for playoffs. Whether or not they get there, they're in a brutal Western Conference, and it's very likely that they could get into this year's playoffs, even if they're the last seed. But for them to already be challenging for playoffs, and they're so young, like you said, that's amazing. You know, years from now, they're going to be going to the top of this conference if they keep their roster intact. But yeah, no, just being able to watch them grow while they're still already challenging for something, that's awesome. I really like that. That reaches out to me, speaks to my heart. So yeah, moving on, records. What do you think for this team?
So I have them at 43 wins. 40 to 43 wins. It's a slight improvement over last year. People really underrate how good they were at the end of last season, but aside from that, I'm kind of unsure how this team will do, especially without Exum and without solid point guard play. Gobert, Hayward, Favors, and Hood or Burks, that's going to be a good starting core of guys, but I don't think they're good enough just yet. They still need a little bit more time to really gel and to see if they compete with the rest of the Western Conference. But I'm really hoping for them. I'd like to see them perhaps pull out an 8 seed, but we have yet to see that. I mean, they could be like the Pelicans. They could be taking the Pelicans' spot considering their injuries. But aside from that, I'm really hopeful for this team, but they still have a long ways to go, as Quinn Snyder was saying this past couple of days.
Yeah. I had this team pegged at like 45, 46 wins with Dante Exum. So obviously if he's out for who knows how long, I gotta drop him down, but I'm just not convinced enough that I could drop him down that much. So I'm gonna have to agree with you with 43 wins. For the exact same reasons. I don't like Burke as their starting point guard. I wouldn't like Alec Burks as their starting point guard. And I don't like anyone really starting for them at point guard. They have some quality players, but like quality in terms of I wouldn't mind watching them play like 10, 15 minutes for me off the bench. Not players that I want running my offense for 33 minutes a game. And it does suck. It does suck to know that could influence them. Just that one injury could kind of take them out of contention. But I don't know. Hopefully Nito rises. Just hopefully Nito. I feel like that should be his nickname.
Nito. I think his nickname is Rolinho. He's one of those Brazilian guys, and he probably might drop his last name, and he might just be Raul.
No, it's gonna be Nito.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It sucks. I don't know where to place them. Really, I'll give them 43 wins because without Exum, that defense isn't gonna be as top notch. But the rest of the roster should keep it still close to that same efficiency where they'll still make a stride from last year's standing. Mm-hmm. And we're saying like that's not that big of a move. That's still like a +5 win. That's a pretty good offseason. Like to get +5 wins added to your win total, that's a good year.
Based purely on players improving because they didn't really add anyone. They're just gotten a little bit better.
Well, they showed that they deserved it over that final stretch. So, social media.
Yeah, so I mentioned before that Gordon Hayward is a pretty cool guy. And I think that's because he plays League of Legends.
Stop.
I think Colin Cowherd mocked people that play video games before, and Hayward shot back, and he was like, "It's not dorky. Look at you. You're a dork." I mean, it's good for Gordon Hayward for defending gamers and defending something that he's passionate about.
Wait, who did he say it to? Who was this?
Colin Cowherd. Because Colin Cowherd was like, people that play video games are a bunch of dorks. And then Hayward tweeted a picture of Colin Cowherd like in the 80s. I mean, Hayward's just a likable dude.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, who else do you think in the league plays League of Legends?
Besides Gordon Hayward?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I wouldn't even peg Gordon Hayward as doing it. With his new hair and stuff. Who could I see? Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, Kawhi's a pretty quiet guy.
Shut up. Kawhi Leonard, just, I don't know. He seems like the type. I want Chandler Parsons to play.
No, I think he's too busy, like, trying to...
Being into girls.
Trying to date a Kardashian or something like that.
I don't know
Maybe
who else.
the Lopez twins?
One of them, no. Robin definitely does. That was a good call. Brooke might too. I think Robin might be a very like involved League of Legends player, and Brooke might just kind of be like
He's just a casual guy.
Yeah, he seems like the casual type.
Maybe Kobe.
No, definitely Kobe. No, definitely Kobe.
He spent a lot of time on the DL last season, so he might have like picked up a new hobby and playing League. So, and he still is probably Kobe if he plays League too.
He'll just like pass the ball to me. Like there's no passing. Just give. He just runs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm gonna expose myself here. I don't know how League works. I'm pretty sure you destroy the other side or something. Like you have to go to the other side of the map and destroy it. So he just does that. He immediately just runs. Like everyone's like talking about strategy. Like, yo, we gotta do this, and he's just like, nah, I'm out, and just runs to the other side. But who knows?
Yeah,
we'll get off this before we expose ourselves more for not knowing what League of Legends is,
or just for us being not nerds. Good for Gordon though.
Come on, man. You're gonna get Gordon shouting at us. I actually have a social media stat for this one. NBA Live 16.
Who's on the cover?
Not even talking about the cover. Have you seen their facial scanners? Like what they put up?
I mean, I haven't really seen those kinds of facials, but I'll take a look.
I hate you.
How are they looking?
They are awful. And it got so bad. Like they put the game out, not like the full game, but just kind of like a demo thing, and people were ridiculing like what went wrong. Like the list goes on and on of like people like that got screwed over, but no one worse than Rudy Gobert. Look up, if you have not seen it, look up Rudy Gobert NBA Live 16. They messed up his face like no one's business.
Oh my god.
Right.
He looks like plastic.
It was actually absurd.
He also looks like a bat.
His face looks like he got sat on. Like he was made of wax and like somebody like sat on it. Like I don't know what they were thinking, but they really messed up here.
I just hope for more competition against NBA 2K because those games are getting really boring.
Yeah.
And I just hope for NBA Live to like make a resurgence or something.
Well, I don't know if that's gonna be the case. They've
Not
messed up.
Year.
They messed up 16 players. Apparently, NBA Live came out and said, "Oh, these aren't the ones that we're like actually putting out. It's just so happens like we didn't get these players like scanned into our system yet." But I mean, other notable players that they really botched. Eric Bledsoe was pretty bad. Tyus Jones. And that's another one you really need to look up. Tyus Jones and Langston Galloway.
I see it right now. Tyus Jones has like a Gumby cut.
Yeah,
and he has a really chubby face.
It looks nothing like, and his eyes are going opposite directions. Oh. It looks nothing like him. Langston Galloway.
D'Angelo Russell looks like he's about 45 years old.
Have you seen Mario Hezonja?
No.
Mario Hezonja. Actually, no, my favorite. We're getting sidetracked. Everyone, you really need to look up these lists if you haven't seen them. Most definitely you need to see Luke Babbitt.
Oh, God.
Did you see Luke Babbitt's yet?
Yo, why are they being mean to the light skinned dudes?
Wait, did you see?
It's all these light skinned dudes.
Did you see Luke Babbitt?
I mean, Luke Babbitt isn't a great looking player.
No, but you need.
He's Asian. What?
Luke Babbitt, the tall, pudgy, white, long-haired guy.
He became
a bald Asian.
He became a Buddhist monk.
Like, I don't know what they did, but they turned him into like your uncle. Like they just messed this up so badly.
Oh, and then they made Willie Cauley-Stein look like Chris Kirkpatrick from NSYNC.
They messed up everyone. Guys, you really need to see this. Frank Kaminsky, Kristaps Porzingis, Mario Hezonja, JJ Redick, they all look like a million years old. Mario Hezonja looks like Droopy the dog. But we're going to stop boring you with these and just start talking amongst ourselves about it again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, guys, take a look at it. Anything else you want to add to this, Charles?
No.
Just wrapped up? Yeah.
Live 16.
All right, guys. Take a look at it and enjoy. We'll see you guys later.